BetOnline is the world's most trusted source for sports betting and your number one spot for everything NFL football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Do you think you know your stuff? I bet you do. Get in on BetOnline's $200,000 Pick 5 contest. All you got to do, pick 5 games against the spread to win your chance at many different prizes and that $200,000 prize. BetOnline is the most trusted source for sports betting and your number one spot for everything football. Plus, when the game's over, head on over to BetOnline for that online casino, blackjack, poker, and over 150 different slots. Head to the website today, get in on the action, BetOnline where the game starts.
Welcome to the Mikey Likes You podcast. It's a big, exciting episode. I totally mean that, sincerely. Can't you tell by the look on my face? I mean, it is the first one of 2025, and I want to address a lot of things that come up around the beginning of the new year. It's funny how New Year's resolutions oftentimes have some fitness basis, right? Weight loss is a huge one, incredibly common, understandably. But, maybe this is the year I get buff. This is the year I'm going to put on some muscle. This is the year I bench press 300 pounds. I don't know. But there's a lot of resolutions that tend to get attached to fitness in some way. So I want to talk about that a little bit. I also want to address some of the questions that I have been receiving via my different social media outlets. I got a lot of good ones. So let's get started. I want to talk to you guys first and foremost about creating resolutions when you get to the beginning of the year, as we are right now, the beginning of 2025. Oh, shit. Oftentimes, there is that goal, there is that vision that you create in your mind. And Lord knows I'm not going to have any problem with that or express any issue with creating some type of goal for yourself. Beautiful. It's step one with a lot of progress in life. But when it comes to fitness and health, especially now that there's social media, people's goals tend to be so wildly unrealistic, both in kind of setting of the standards or the finish line of what you want to achieve. It's so wildly out of this world. And then also the means in which people hope to achieve certain things and how they go about it is so wildly unrealistic that I think it sets us all up for a lot more frustration and harm than it does kind of benefit. Let me break that down for you. When a lot of people get going on their resolutions nowadays, now that they've been inundated by meaningless, rather erroneous fitness and health information through TikTok, through Instagram, through YouTube, they set these expectations and they set these goals, and it's just simply not attainable. And I'm not going to be the guy who ever is going to try to get people to lower their standards or lower their expectations. But when people don't have any concept of what the limitations are for normal people with typically lower than average understanding of high level dietary science and then high levels of training and exercise physiology, there's very, 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 very few people, including people in the fitness industry, who actually have that. And the visual standards of what is at the end of the journey for most people is something that's really, really fringe, really, really hard to obtain. Just gaining muscle mass, any sizable, noticeable muscle, is such a monumental achievement that takes incredible amounts of patience and effort over a prolonged period of time. Doing so without gaining really sizable amounts of body fat is even harder. Losing body fat without just kind of mindlessly losing weight, starving yourself, and increasing activity is really hard. And it takes a long time. A long time. In the perfect world, in the most proper settings, with drugs and pharmaceuticals, with high levels of experience, with tons of free time and a knowledge to dietary stuff, and a noticeable commitment to do so, and the willpower and the discipline, blah, blah, blah. Even in all those settings, it's still a real slow go. And again, I don't want to start off the whole episode with nothing but negative talk, but people, I think the reason why people are so addicted to quick fix stuff is because really doing this, creating a physique that's beautiful, when you, in your own eyes, don't have one as of right now, takes extraordinary amounts of patience and effort over a prolonged period of time. Am I trying to talk anybody out of it? No. In fact, quite the opposite. I think dangling something in front of people only to have it yanked away from 9 out of 10 of them is the most denigrating, and then probably the most overall frustrating thing that could happen to someone. Same with, get rich quick schemes, get thin quick schemes. Any of these, like, oh, you can do this in 30 days, you can have summer abs. It's like, no, you can't. And when you're done with that 30 days and you don't, you're going to be even worse off than you were before, because you're going to be so angry and so frustrated. Okay? So let me just kind of, in a nutshell, touch on the major tenets of what you need to do right now. Whether you're already pretty well put together and you have just a little bit more to go, or if you're totally behind the 8 ball, you've never exercised, you've never tried to put any effort into diet, and you want it, okay, and you're going to start this year. Here, there's like 3 or 4 things that are really important, and they're pretty consistent throughout all walks of life. One of them is patience, okay? When I say that people's ideas and not only are people's goals, but people's ideas of how things happen in the fitness industry are so distorted through social media and stuff that I can't tell you how many people reach out to me, talk to me, and this is not, believe me, this is not making fun of anyone. What I'm saying is like, my eyes are opened now, because I'll get a lot of people who reach out to me and say things, and it's just like, there's the truth, there's reality, there's what they're saying, and it's not here. It's like off the charts, totally not even close to what is reality. Guys telling me, oh, last year I gained 50 pounds of muscle, and I'm like, well, I don't even need to see a picture. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You are not the greatest bodybuilder that's ever lived. If you gained 50 pounds last year, which I still find not hard to believe, 48 of it was fat. I mean, like, people's ideas of stuff, like, right now I'm probably about 15-16% body fat. I really think that before summer I can get into single digits. And I'll see a picture of a guy and he's 30% body fat. I was like, dude, they're like, I have a pretty good, like, 4-pack. I just need to push it to get to the 6-pack. I was like, you have nothing. No, you're like, you need to lose 80 pounds of body fat. Again, so like I said, this isn't like let Mike shit on people. What I'm saying is that social media and it's not even just social media, it's just media in general. The other day I was reading an article about and it wasn't The Rock, it was someone who supposedly trains The Rock or is a nutritionist or something, and it was in a real credible kind of mainstream establishment, men's health or something like that, and it was talking about like, well, The Rock has to eat 8,000 calories a day too, and I just immediately I was like, no he doesn't. Okay, I know that kind of makes people go, wow, goo goo gaga. And I was like, no, that's not reality. Okay? Tom Haviland and pro bodybuilders, like gigantic guys who, the very few people on the planet who are actually carry more muscle than The Rock, who's a huge muscly man. Those guys are, it's like 6,000 calories is a tremendous amount for those guys. And so it just constantly you see these articles and write-ups and TikTok and Instagram posts, and it's like mostly shit. It's mostly meaningless. Patience and understanding that doing it for reals it's gonna be a marathon and not a sprint. The other thing, and the most important tenet that you can have when it comes to changing your physique, consistency. Here's another thing that happens, I think, and again, I will blame kind of modern online media for the most part, is people... I'm not going to talk crap because you want it, right? You want this, and I love that. I love that people actually care and want. They want to do it, but oftentimes at the beginning of the year, training plans and diet plans are so excessive and so over the top and so extreme because people want it and they want it now, that there's just no way you can be consistent with it. The people who don't have other jobs, this is their main purpose, this is their main goal in life. They get paychecks for it sometimes. They have a hard time maintaining extreme training programs with high volume and intensity and extremely limiting diets. But you, who works at, Hertz Rent-A-Car and has never competed in any way in physique, or is not like necessarily someone who has an extensive history of dieting and training, you're going to do this 2-a-day split, extreme, over the top, kind of difficult, demanding, high intensity, high volume program, and then couple that with like a really restrictive diet. No, you're not going to do that. Things would work out better if you were to create some type of diet program and some type of training program that was achievable for you to do consistently day in and day out. Instead of creating this, I'm going to change my whole life in 2025 starting on January 1st, and it's over the top, and then by the time January 10th comes around, you're already having a hard time staying consistent with it. If you had a 3-day-a-week training program and you said, I'm going to get 1 gram of protein for every pound of body weight that I have, or every pound of body weight that I desire to have, those are the 2 things I'm going to do. I'm going to hit this 3-day-a-week program, and I'm never going to miss, and I'm going to make sure I get 0.8 grams of protein for every pound of body weight that I have, or something, some reasonable goals. And then you did do that consistently day in and day out. You never missed. Way better than doing 75% of something that's really extreme and really fringe. Okay? Building muscle is a glacially paced process. Especially, honestly, even in compared to losing body fat. So be ready to put in like long amounts of time. Another thing is slashing calories and increasing activity at the same time. It's never a positive. You are going to receive diminishing returns. Okay? And I see that happen a lot of times at the beginning of the year. So increasing the amount of activity physically that you're doing, coupled with a increase in calorie deficit, you can't do both of those things at the same time to a large extent. You could do both of those things at the same time very slightly. the better option would be to do one of those things at the same time. Okay? The final kind of tip I want to go over before I start getting to listener questions is, under almost all circumstances, and I'll isolate the one kind of scenario where I don't think this is a good idea, but this is the only time, is if you're a super high level athlete, or you are already at a high level of physique. You're already really lean or really muscular or both. Outside of that scenario, okay, and I mean really, okay, like you're already someone who is a head-turning physique and you want to step on a bodybuilding stage. You're already a female who every girl, at every gym you go to, every girl's like, oh my God, look at her, but you want to do a bikini calendar, okay? I'm talking about like you're already high level and you want to go to GOAT status. This is the only time this doesn't apply. Outside of that, this is the case. Okay, really, this is something. The solution to your problems does not include adding things into your life. It absolutely includes removing things from your life. You just very likely don't need to add things to what you're doing, but you need to subtract. Really isolate, really work hard, sometimes get help if you need to. Reach out to someone like me. Go to my Patreon. There's plenty of other people, men and women who are very smart, who do know what they're talking about. Really isolate the very limited amount of things that actually move the needle. That actually that are actually making an impact in getting to your results. Really work hard and isolate those things and then do that. Because really over the overwhelming achievements when it comes to physique and physical performance, it's not a very long list of things that you need to be focusing on. It's not a very grand collection. It's an it's a pretty small curated collection of things that you just have to really dig deep and focus on and hammer them. Okay? Let me get to some of the listener questions and see if that can't lead me to some of the other stuff that I was thinking about talking about. Diet is going to be more important than training in all circumstances. Training is always, it's necessary. It's kind of vital to having a meaningfully beautiful physique for men and women, old and young. Training it must be there. But when it comes to again, we're talking about what moves the needle, diet is by far a bigger needle mover. That being said, don't cut calories too much too quickly. So you burn yourself out. I see people trying to go really low really quickly, and then also couple that with training jiu-jitsu and lifting weights numerous times a week, and then trying to get in the cardio. Just the extremes don't tend to work. And I mean extreme kind of planning, not necessarily extremes when you come to your training, when it comes to your dieting. Being extreme is pretty cool. Okay, if something really means you. What I'm saying, planning the extremes, it never really seems to work. Let's see here. Moyrod323. About to start my animal-based diet. Eggs, milk, steaks, fish, chicken, etc. No carbs. Do you think it's sustainable, and have you done it? You live full. Couple things here. You say eggs, then milk, steaks, fish, chickens, etc. No carbs. Well, milk's pretty carb heavy. Milk is a carb. Okay. But at the same time, look, it's an animal. You're doing animal-based carnivore, I guess. Yeah, sure, okay. So include milk, but don't also throw that caveat. Do you think it's sustainable, and have you done it? Do I think it's sustainable? No. Have I done it? Not really. Never really had the desire to. I do. I'm a big red meat eater. I'm a big believer. Once Paul Saladino and Sean Baker and these guys really started making it like popular, and now it's just crazy. This whole carnivore thing. I'm in support of the idea that there's so many things that are very, very nutritious for you that 10, 15 years ago, people got this whole like the plant-based movement and everything convinced people certain forms of saturated fat are totally bad, no matter what. We're not even open for debate. Red meat is bad for you in comparison to poultry and fish. And it's like, well, what do we do? Okay, these are not true statements. That being said, having your whole diet be based around red meat and eggs is it's not something I would recommend ever under any circumstances. And it's not something that, and with that comes this kind of black and white thinking that, again, the internet has kind of created this completely backwards mindset where 10 years ago, kind of, like I said, plant-based stuff, and you had to avoid meats, and you had people buying, turkey bacon and stuff. And I was like, okay, what is happening? This is meaningless. People eat too much. They don't eat enough protein. That's more of the problem than any of these picking and choosing. But now it's like I hear guys thinking that they're healthy, thinking that they're doing something to kind of get jacked, get lean, and they're like, I eat a pound of bacon a day. I eat a stick of butter because carnivore, bro. I'm like, what the fuck's cool? If carnivore or if keto or if any of this kind of get fit quick stuff it was really meaningful, was really effective, there would be one high level physique athlete that does it. There's zero people that do that. Okay? And the problem is that most people, so few people have any idea of even what they're saying or talking about. I'm sure I'll get people DMing me or commenting. They're like, GSP does this. I was like, no. First off, GSP doesn't. He eats fruit. He eats tons of carbs. He's like more of the Paul Saladino kind of carnivore, like animal-based thing. But just eating meat is a bad idea. And there's no high-level athlete, physique athlete or performance athlete that does that. Carbs are essential and awesome for overall health. Picking and choosing certain carbs is important, but if keto and new wave, like really unique, if keto or carnivore or really new wave, unique kind of interval practices or any of kind of the newfangled or plant-based, or if any of this worked, all of people would be ripped because so many people buy into this stuff because it's alluring and it seems a lot easier to do than the tried and true ways that I can guarantee you that works for people who are going from 7% body fat to 5% body fat, who are going from extreme levels of muscle to freakish levels of muscle to the you know what I'm saying, like the NFL football players, NHL hockey players. You're talking about the best of the all of the best of the best, all of these things that they do to improve. It is boring and sucks and wouldn't sell a lot of books or training programs or diets. That's the key. And that's what you need to understand. All of the real stuff, the way Jay Cutler used to eat in his prime, the way that Dorian Yates trained, and the day in and day out lifestyle that comes along with, and the way that guys, movie stars have to train to be superheroes, and what they eat and how they eat and how many people have to go get involved and at such a high level working with them to do all of it. Okay. No one's going to get that info, see it, see how it's done, get the behind the curtains view, and then go like, yep, I'm in. It's so much easier to market, just don't eat anything but steak for 30 days. See how that goes. Just cut your carbs below 20. See how that goes. You go, oh yeah, okay, here's my $19.99. I'm in. If all of this kind of newfangled stuff worked, and by the way, isn't it weird that it changes every 15 to 10 years? Okay, if that wasn't the case, it would probably be, if it was really effective, it wouldn't be the case where it goes through cycles like that. But if these things worked, any kind of these very alluring, marketed, get fit quick stuff, carnivore, keto, paleo, certain like unique kind of obscure training programs with newfangled techniques and intervals and all the, if any of this worked, most people would be in good shape. Okay? The reality is like kind of monotonous, boring stuff that makes you feel very uncomfortable. And that includes in the kitchen, not just in the gym. Getting up 20, 30 minutes earlier and making your meals before you go to work and putting them in that Tupperware and then slogging that Tupperware to work and then eating instead of going with your coworkers to Chipotle. Okay? Like that is the stuff that's what works. That's what the greatest on earth do. That's what people who do life-changing shit do. You could look at like all the, let's take, I don't even need to say like high-level athletes. Let's take comics or popular online personalities, right? A lot of them will do like, so-and-so's doing keto, so-and-so's going to do carnivore. I try, they go on Tiger Belly and like, I tried carnivore for 40 days and I lost a little weight, but I couldn't get my tits to go, okay, what about like Tom Segura? Tom Segura went from pretty noticeably overweight and out of shape to like amazing. Like his progress, his performance and his physique and the way it's changed is amazing. And he really looks great and he deserves credit. Okay, what did he do to do that? He's eating frequently throughout the day. It's really well measured and there's a lot of effort that goes into understanding exactly how many calories for how much he's outputting, and he's eating high protein and it's not very fat laden, yummy, immediate, ribeye all day. He's eating a lot of fish, he's eating a lot of, super lean red meat and frequently throughout the day so that he could fuel very high intense, very well regulated workouts and stuff. And that's honestly, that's the key to getting what you want. And the reason that it can be the reason that the lies get told and perpetuated, and the reason that a lot of things get marketed that aren't that, if it is kind of infallible and it is so effective, is because that sucks. And not a lot of people are going to invest their money in that because not a lot of people have what it takes to do it. Sorry to sound like such a shithead. I mean, I'm just being honest. Get a hold of exactly how much you need to eat and how much you're eating currently. If you had any idea of how much you were currently eating, you would realize how much you're overeating. All of us, Americans in general. It has nothing to do with like, I'm cutting out rice and I'm cutting out. No, it's like overall, everyone eats too much in this country. Even quote unquote fitness enthusiasts. People just eat so much. Okay? You get an idea of how much you're eating, you get an idea of how much you should be eating, and you get a slight caloric deficit. And you up your protein and you train hard. And you do that for a long time. And you have to continue to go back to doing it even though you don't look in the mirror and go like, yep, got abs, I'm going in the right direction. There's going to be a period of time, a pretty considerable period of time, where you're like, I'm not even sure this is working. But you know what? Keep the faith, keep my eye on the prize, and go. And then a year later, you can look back and go, God dang it, yes. 2 years later, sometimes a decade later, fine. But unless you are like, Discovery Channel obese, you're not going to make sizable improvements very quickly. All right. Get to a couple more questions. See here. NRAO, any tips on how to know if you should rest versus train? Sometimes I can't tell if I'm too tired where it will be ineffective or if it's actually worth powering through and I feel net better. Any objective measures? It's a really good question. It's a really good question. I don't know if there's any objective measures. There might be. I'm saying I don't necessarily know like objective measures, because even heart rate variability, some of these things where people used to really kind of monitor it to see if they're ready to go. Even that has been proven upon deeper scrutiny to not necessarily be that reliable. Here's one. Here's a very objective one. When you wake up, your resting heart rate. If it is noticeably higher than it usually is, do it for 7 days, 10 days, and you kind of get an average. You get an understanding, like, oh, this is my resting heart rate. If it's noticeably higher, 10 beats per minute higher, you got to take some rest, serious rest. Okay? Outside of that, there aren't necessarily objective measures, but there's some pretty good telltale subjective ones. Like, are you angrier than you usually are? Are you moody? Do things that aren't that big a deal bother you right now? Normally, the teenage hipster kid in their lingo, you're like, okay, well, I don't necessarily understand what that kid's saying, but good for him. Okay, he's trying. This YouTuber's trying, this artist, and he's putting this thing. If that makes you go like, I'm gonna fucking punch this fucking floppy haired shithead in the face. Okay, you're probably overtrained. You're probably underrested. If you're edgy, libido is a great one for guys, especially guys, under 60. If you are not ready to poke a hole through the wood door with your boner, especially look, if you're in your 20s and 30s and unless things have dramatically changed for you fellas, I want to make it very clear when I'm saying this. I'm not talking about how great a lover I am. I don't know. I like to think I work hard enough and I'm invested enough in women to hopefully please them. But what I will say is, like, I'm 45 years old, and tonight I'll prove I will blow a load and immediately be able to have sex. Like I'm very horny. I love chicks, and it's awesome, and I'm very excited to do it pretty much all the time. I've beat off numerous times. This has happened in my life, and I've been married 12 years now. Where I don't think I'm getting booty, and so I go into the bathroom and I get I tug one out. You know what I'm saying? Get a shot off, and then I'll go into the bedroom to go to sleep, and my wife will give me the look like, or she'll be, and I'm like, oh. And I'm telling you, 45 seconds later, I just tossed one off, and I'm like, okay, we can keep that to yourself, and here we go. And I step up to the plate. And if there's times, once or twice throughout the year, I will go so hard and heavy, or like my sleep will be kind of off, And I realize, I'm like, I could opt to go to sleep right now instead of have booty. If that happens, you're overtrained. Okay, so libido is a great one. Resting heart rate that's an objective one. Like I said, if you have a considerably higher resting heart rate than your average, something's up, and take a couple days off. And by taking a couple days off, that doesn't mean be a lazy pile of shit, okay? My rest days is still go for walks, get outdoors, pick up games of some sports, or being alive, being a human being. That's resting. Resting means resting from your calculated progression of your hard work. It doesn't mean sit on my ass all day. The humans are not designed. We're not designed for that, okay? We're mammals. So libido, edginess, resting heart rate, and weirdly disproportionate hunger, especially for shitty food. That's a great sign that you're overtrained or underrested or both. When everyone craves yummy shit, it doesn't go away ever. But when you typically 20 days out of the month, you're like pretty good about like, yeah, sure. My kid over there eating that donut looks good, but I'm a grown up and I'm trying to take care of my health, and I'm not going to eat that. If the donut becomes I can't control it, and I'm going to eat a box out of the blue, that you're over. That's another great sign. Okay. Let's see here. Ken Mitsui via my at Mikey Likes You 1 Instagram profile. Hi, Mike. Thank you for all the content and virtual support. Been a fan for years. Thanks, dude. Question for you that I think others might have as well. I recently purchased the Apex program. Thank you very much. Available at Train Heroic. Link in the profile and show notes below. And the heaviest dumbbells at my gym are hundreds. I can goblet squat those fairly easy for 6. Ooh, nice. Impressive. So now I can't really go heavier. I've got a fairly lengthy history of training and am comfortable with most, if not all, lifts. Should I be swapping these out for barbell back squats now that I've got the limitation of the equipment available to me? My mechanics in a back squat are fairly upright, so similar to a goblet squat, but not quite as upright. What are your thoughts? Okay, great, incredible question. I do in my training program, goblet squats and Bulgarian split squats and Romanian deadlifts with the dumbbells. And that's, for the most part, except for in the middle phase, a 4-week middle phase, there's the front squats. That's all of the leg training. And I think for most people it works. There's not one person that goblet squats are bad for. There's not. I'm not saying back squats aren't great, but there's a huge swath of people that shouldn't be back squatting. There's no one that doesn't get the benefit of a goblet squat. But if you're limited, if hundreds are your biggest and you can easily do them for 10 reps, how am I supposed to have you program those for a program where I want you to go between 4 and 6 reps? And if you can get that comfortably, you're increasing the weight. You can transition to the back squat or look into adding a band to the 100-pound dumbbells when you goblet squat. It's another great way. And also it's a great way to really strengthen the VO muscles and the quads and keep upright. But you add, around the weight that you're gobleting, you could add a band so that you get also, as you get farther away from the ground, it gets more and more increased tension. It's a great addition. But you would also switch to the back squat. The back squat is a great exercise, and the front squat is a great exercise. And I have no problem recommending it to someone who is so advanced that now 100-pound dumbbells in the goblet squat are super easy. I don't have any problem telling you, yeah, just go back squat, dude. Let's go. Get nasty. Okay? But the thing about the goblet squat is, I have no problem telling everyone on earth to do that. I don't care if you've never exercised. Most people, even who have exercised quite a long time and think that they know what they're doing in the gym, have no idea how to properly squat. No idea. They have no idea what the difference between a low bar and high bar back squat is. They have no idea what footwear should be worn for where they should be putting their knees, where they should be putting their hips. So that's my limitation. But if 100-pound dumbbells, which is your limitation at your place of training, if that's easy for you, then you're good. You're good. Your body can tolerate. You can back squat just fine. I believe. Here we go. Eric Garcia. Hey, Mike, looking through your page, did you used to do online training? Because all I can find now is the Apex program. Yes, I still do. I did used to, and I still do. Just go to my Patreon. I'll put the link in the show notes below. I offer the top tier training in which I'm taking care of nutrition, training, everything, habits, and I'm also just here for you to bitch and moan at me if you need to. All right. Thanks again. Check out everything if you can. Like and subscribe. It would really mean a lot to me. It would really help me out. I could start maybe actually monetizing this whole thing. But right now I just do it because shit bothers me. And also it means a lot to me every once in a while when people say, hey, you know what? You really helped me out. Thank you. I appreciate you giving me that info. And that's meaningful to me, dude. So in this crazy mixed up world that makes you think that nobody cares, remember, I do. Be good.